I said this in a tweet today. I'm just so selfish already. The second that movie ends and you have an image of Bruce Wayne standing over his dead parents, and so like I don't even need a Joker 2. I don't even need that. I would just love to see. And we were talking about for the cast, but I would love to see a movie just called Wayne and just see Bruce Wayne growing up. And the same way that the Joker was the Joker for the last 25 minutes of this movie, if we got a movie like that where this kid, we see him 10 years later, you don't even need walking. You can just see the clips of that. He was on TV. You can see clips of him. You can see
newspaper headlines.
Yeah, and if the last 25 minutes is the first time he puts on that bat costume, I would just love, and who knows what happens, but I would just I want to see, because we're talking about Gotham, I just want to see more of this world, and even if it's another character, like if there was a Riddler or the podcaster, let's see that character. Like this world to me is just already so rich what they set up. I would just like to see anything in this world. It's just they just did such a good job, and I really hope I'm really hoping that money talks and money's the root of all evil. But I'm in the case of so pulling for it where Warner Bros. Just goes like, well, do you guys want to maybe do something else in there? Because Phillips even said that. He said he didn't know if he directed, but he said the same thing. He'd be interested to see what would it be like for Bruce Wayne to grow up in this world. Because not only your parents died, the whole time it is just like, and even then, walking could be in another movie and be in it for 5 minutes. Like the whole movie could be building to the confrontation of, I'm going to kill this guy, and maybe he doesn't. Like, I don't know, but it's just, that's why I love that they did such a good job of making this world. Like, you want to see more, and like, gross way, but you're interested like what's next, like what could happen, because the movie ends very bleakly with riots and they have this godlike figure in the Joker, and it's just where the possibilities would be endless with the Harley and everything. But that's just me, quick fanboy.
I know, and I don't think I'm on that train, because I think this movie is very, very special, and it almost feels more special because it is a one-off. You look at these other comic book movies like an Endgame, Infinity War, even Avengers, even something like Logan. Like, these movies are great, but they're also great because they had so much groundwork put into those characters, the people acting in that world, and so it all like culminates to something. But I think the fact that Joker was so great just in itself with no other connections is something that's very, very special. And yes, even though it does have a couple things that are tied to that character's origins, based on comic books or some Bruce Wayne stuff, it still feels like a very special thing. And I feel like if they were to dip back into this world, I feel like there's
a big risk of tarnishing.
I feel like you need Batman at this point. Like, I don't know if you... Well, I don't... Yes, you maybe could do another just Joker movie, and I mean, yes, it could work. Obviously, this movie is that good, but I almost feel like if you really want some progression, you need Batman, and there's a lot of implications with that. One is he'd be older, and you would have to simulate like 20, 30 years of Gotham, and I wonder what the city would be like. I wonder if they would really take the care it needs to really make that feel like it actually has been however long in that world. And as you're saying, maybe they go for a younger Bruce, or maybe they do like a time-lapse thing. But right now I'm just like totally content. If this is one-off, we never get anything else, I am A-okay with that. Just to show that you like, not every comic book movie needs to spin off into a trilogy. You spin off into 20 series.
You're
of movies.
Right. You're 100% right.
Have fucking time travel so you can keep experiencing that. Talking to you, X-Men. Like, you can just do one great movie, focus on one character, and move
similar
on with
to
your life.
just like a single comic book run. In that it's like you can have a run of 5 comics with this one story, and then that's it. You don't need to touch on the topic anymore.
I think it just shows like, wow, they were really able to build up Gotham so well as a city, possibly better than any other comic book movie with just one movie.
And I think that's the problem. And shout out to Greg who might be listening. I guess that's the saltiness of me that the DCU happened, and that's where it's just like we try to do this universe, and for me it didn't quite work out. So it's like when you get this nice universe, and you're just like, oh, it's so. And you guys are 100% right. I honestly think if I have to gun ahead, it should stay a one-off. It worked that way, but it's just when you look at this treat, and it just looks. It's like the Wayne Manor.
The thing is, you can't describe this as a universe yet, right? No. Like this movie is entirely focused, like 90% focused on just one character, and then the world is built very much alongside that, like with synergy there. That it's not like when you introduce a Batman, you're already splitting that. I mean, screen time doesn't have to be a cut and dry 50-50 thing, but you're already diluting it a bit in other characters. So,
well, that's where my pitch
and like if there's a big epic battle between Joker and Batman, I know those are more like battles between brains than they are big explosive set pieces or something. But I still feel like that would kind of take away from what made this kind of a realistic thing. And even something like the moment when Joker, I mean, he gets pulled out of the car. He's like very lifeless, but he stands up on the car and eventually gets to the point where he pulls the blood back over his cheeks. Like that could be very, very cheesy, and that is something that is very cheesy in other comic movies, but it doesn't come across that way in this movie at all.
And see, that's the thing when you're talking about that, I wouldn't want like the Batman breaks out the Batmobile and he's jumping rooftop to rooftop. I would want literally even less down to even what like the first season of like Daredevil was, even like less fighting, just this guy that's in streets, he has a bandana. Like I would like, even if they did a Batman costume and there's not even horns on it, it's just like that's what I'd like, is just to see just a very grounded what this world will be, and not in a way of like, oh, Wonder Woman's going to come, and just like what would this continue going on? You know, it's just, and I think, like I said, you guys are right, but it's just, I guess I'm being selfish just because I just saw this great comic movie. I'm just like, man, we can do this with comic movies. So my head spins with all these properties. Like I want to see like what would be a really realistic version of this and this and this, but you got to be happy with what you get.
What are the odds that we get another movie, and what if it's like, what if they aren't as good, or what if they take away from that? What if Gotham doesn't feel as complete? Well, now that's all tied to this, right? And you can always cut out Anchorman too, but it still exists.
100%. Yeah. No, I just want to talk about because it was fun, like to bring up, and especially because there's those rumors like the past and one takes place in the 90s. So people,
they have my fucking attention more than any other DC thing.
Yeah, so people have done like this.
Theater.
People have done like the spider web. Like, well, Pattinson's movies are in the 90s. Joaquin would be 50 and he could play 20, so we could do this and that. So you're right.
Well, that's the thing. When I see people today, you know, sometimes some of this from you, Travis, because you went all over Twitter today, which totally justifiable. But like people are like already shipping the Pattison and Joaquin. It's like, you haven't seen that Batman yet. Chill out.
I did
relax.
That. I did that. Yeah. But I think that just shows that in like the long run that shows that it's a movie that the people that like it really affected. And I think it is a thing that I think people, if they dislike this movie, could really dislike it. But I think that just shows that if there is never another one, it just shows the power that this movie did have, because it already has people just talking about it and like fantasy booking stuff. And that's totally me, but I am just happy. Even if we don't get any more, I'm happy we just got this, because it's crazy that this exists. It's I said this earlier today. It's like Endgame for a different reason. When I see that last battle, I'm like, this is a thing that exists. When I see the last half an hour of this movie, I'm like, this is like a real Joker movie. Like I said, the final battle is a talk show, and it's so just even simple but effective.
Even just like living up to the hype, which has been like pretty fucking high the last couple months. And I was even a bit annoyed because Travis and Taylor have been dropping fucking Joker posters in our group chat every day, which are just different angles of his face, essentially. I'm like, guys, I've had enough of this.
Big shots. Yeah, the posters are great.
Posters so good.
They had to make a poster for every Riot member, you know, that's why. But I wanted to talk about, unless we had anything else on Gotham or the potential Batman-ness, or if you
I want to say that I am for a Wayne film. I like that pitch.
Just Wayne.
And I think I don't think you need the Joker or Walken in that film.
No.
I was just kind of brainstorming in my head, like the start of Batman Begins, in that like you see Bruce kind of like he almost goes and kills the guy who's convicted as killing his parents. And I like, with how masterfully this film was done, just a film focusing similarly on simply the perspective of Wayne. You still have, I think Gotham City is an essential character with how well it was done in
you kind of have film. To, right? Yeah, but that's the only reason I'd want to see. I wouldn't want to just see him like, oh, now he's with ninjas and I don't want to see that. I literally want to see him in Gotham.
It's very much like I think with DC and Batman specifically, Gotham is it is very essential to have Gotham as a character and to bring it alive, because it's why Batman does what he does, because he believes in Gotham as a whole. He believes in the city, that it can be better.
And he'll see all these clips of his dad, like even if it's a fake version of his dad talking, like, look at my dad, he was, you know.
It could be I'm not sure canonically how old he is when that trial goes through or whatnot. But it could be just like a young Bruce Wayne. Maybe he's late teens, early 20s, and it's just following him and the struggle he's trying to deal with as he's coming to realize that maybe like growing up, like he might not have realized just how crappy things were around him. He had a very sheltered upbringing until his parents died, and then even after that, like Alfred could have easily sheltered him. But just sort of realizing that, like, the rich people aren't great and the poor people aren't great either, and
now you have this faction of people that hate the Waynes too.
Yeah.
You know, they killed your parents in the alleyway.
Like,
and
these are the people you're fighting to save Gotham for. These are the people you're fighting for, and they're not that great. But anyways, basically his descent into just like dealing with his parents' death and the aftermath of what the Joker's done to him, and that descent into vigilantism and eventually becoming the Batman at the end of the film.
Yeah,
I think, and it's just him trying to like. It could literally just be like a detective film of him trying to solve his parents' murder himself, and he comes across these lines of like, oh, do I murder this person because I might be able to justify it, but will I be able to live with that decision? Is this who I want to be as a vigilante? And then eventually he dons the cape and yeah, that sort of thing. Basically the opposite of the Joker film.
Starts low, gets high, where Joker, like, well,
I mean, honestly, it could still start high and get low. Like, it could be a dark point in his life where it's like he could turn away from vigilantism, leave Gotham with his large sum of inheritance, and just like he has the opportunity to just put that life behind him, but he takes the dark path. For him, it might be the righteous path, but he takes the dark path and he decides to confront and try and change Gotham for the better.
Yeah. So, I'm with you, man. I think Dylan's definitely right.
I think Dylan makes a lot of good points.
He does.
And I think I do think that it would be nice to not have anything tie in directly with like this film, so that in that it's like, oh, there's like things, they have flashbacks to like other things the Joker has done or something. That'd be kind of dumb, and I wouldn't like that, but
chapter 2 style.
Oh, and we're just talking about how unique this movie is, and as soon as you spin out a cinematic universe around it, then it's gonna make it less unique.
I don't think it needs a cinematic universe, but just like to follow this, basically make it like a trilogy, like the Dark Knight Rises trilogy, and that it like I wouldn't call the Dark Knight Rises a cinematic universe, but the movie's, it's still a trilogy, I guess.
And
that's kind of what I would root for if they did anything with this, but I would also be like, just this film as it is, it's like, that's great, I'm happy for it.
Well, let us know in the comments what you think, because that's going to be debated for a little while. So